authorities in Northern California have confirmed California's first documented death from a black bear attack.
Imagine relaxing in your own home, only to be faced with a deadly predator breaking through your window. In 2023, a quiet California town was shaken by a tragic and rare event, a black bear attack that claimed the life of a local woman. What happened that led to this terrifying encounter? Born in 1952, Patrice Miller lived most of her life in a little far-off California hamlet known as Downeyville. Tucked along the Yuba River in the rough Sierra Nevada, this small village of around 100 residents is 2 hours northeast of Sacramento. Living a tranquil, isolated existence in a rented house immediately across from the county courthouse was Patrice. Her house, obviously run down, mirrored her seclusion and worsening health. Patrice was suffering from multiple organ failure by the early 2000s, and physicians expected her to survive far less. To the few who saw her, she seemed delicate and moved slowly, depending on a walking stick. Her daily schedule consisted primarily of tending to her houseplants and looking after her 2 cats, apart from others. Bear County includes Downeyville, and black bears are rather common in the Sierra Nevada area. Regretfully for Patrice, her habits started drawing bears right at her house. She probably kept trash both inside and outside the house. Her feeding kittens on the porch and her garden and compost pile drew more animals. To further things, several of her house's windows were broken, allowing food smells to escape, and so draw the bears even more. Patrice was often plagued by bears trying to get into her home. She came across these enormous animals herself several times. Particularly, one bear looked resolved to break in. Once, in self-defense, Patrice even had to physically attack a bear to keep it out through one of the damaged windows. By 2023, one particular male bear had started to show up often. Patrice gave this bear his moniker, Big Blank. This bear started turning up practically daily, prowling her residence and trying repeatedly to break in. Patrice was definitely afraid. She told friends how dangerous she felt and confided in them about her developing bear anxiety. She put steel bars on her windows to try to defend herself, thinking it would keep the determined bear out. After months of unrelenting pestering, Patrice at last contacted the California Department of Fish and Wildlife in September 2023 for assistance. Although they gave her permission to kill the bear, Patrice showed no desire to do so. She refused to perform what she termed bear homicide. Her only goal was for the bear to go away peacefully. The department frustratingly did nothing more, and the problem kept getting worse. Late October saw Patrice's anxiety at its height. The sound of her cat hissing at an open bedroom window one evening alarmed her. She was terrified to find the huge bear paw reaching into her house when she went to check. She used pepper spray and an air horn in a last-ditch effort to defend herself, frightening the bear away, at least momentarily. Still, this close-up contact had little effect to stop the bear from acting aggressively. Things started tragically on November 8th, 2023. Regular grocery delivery to Patrice's friend Cassie raised questions when she hadn't heard from her in several days. Concerned about the safety of her neighbor, Cassie asked the Sierra County Sheriff's Office for a welfare check. The deputy who showed up at Patrice's house noted right away that something was odd. On the front porch, a garden hose had been hacked open and was spewing water everywhere. He knocked on the door but got no answer. Turning off the water, he peered through a tiny window with his flashlight. Inside, he found horrifying paw prints and blood spilled across the living room floor. Alert, the deputy pulled his rifle and pushed his way inside. He came into a horrific situation. Deep lacerations, puncture wounds, and savage claw and bite marks covered Patrice Miller's dead body on the kitchen floor. She was obviously attacked by a bear who had been dining on her remains for several days. The house itself was in total chaos, with cabinets split apart and trash all over the floor. The bear had broken off the steel bars Patrice had put on a kitchen window. Inside the living room, the bear had left a clear, recognizable imprint. Given Patrice's poor condition and history of disease, researchers first thought she most certainly died of natural causes. Her body's breakdown seemed likely to have drawn the bear, who then broke in and ate her remains. Initially, they saw the bear as only behaving as an opportunist and did not believe it was accountable for her death. But an autopsy later turned up the terrible reality. Patrice had not passed suddenly from natural causes. The bear had killed her by mauling her to death from a neck bite. It became abundantly evident that during the attack, the bear had actually hauled her from her bed and across the home. The bear that killed Patrice Miller kept invading her residence in the days that followed her death. The cops had to intervene. They covered the door with a plywood sheet to keep the determined beast out. Still, the bear persisted, going back to the attack area multiple times. Let us now turn to examine a few salient features of this case. First of all, the death of Patrice Miller marked a sad turning point, since it was the first recorded fatal attack by a black bear in California. The black bear population in the state has risen dramatically over the years. Black bears were estimated to number 10,000 to 15,000 in California back in 1982. With 40% of these bears living in the Sierra Nevada region, by 2024, that count had climbed to as many as 65,000. As bear numbers rise, interactions between people and these wild creatures have grown more frequent, which increases the risk involved. The second important factor is that black bears are wild and erratic animals, even if they are not regarded as threatening as grizzly bears. All bears have the capacity for violence. Notwithstanding, they're generally quiet and non-aggressive demeanor. You never know exactly how any given bear will behave. Males can weigh between 150 and 500 pounds. Female black bears usually weigh between 100 and 300 pounds. Despite their weight, they are remarkably strong, strength 5 times that of a typical person. With just one of its front legs, a black bear can run up to 35 miles per hour, easily climb trees, and lift over 300 pounds. Although black bears cause less than 1 fatality annually on average in the United States, confrontations between bears and humans have grown out of black bears' expanding population and inappropriate human garbage disposal. The growing frequency of these interactions emphasizes the need for improved wildlife management and human responsibility to stop such sad events in the future. Authorities moved fast to find the bear causing the attack following the sad loss of Patrice Miller. Originally gone from the area by the time authorities arrived, the bear finally became caught close to Miller's house. DNA testing verified that this male bear had really attacked her fatally. The bear was killed after confirmation. Even if this sad chapter closed, it raised numerous issues about human-wildlife interactions, especially in rural towns like Downeyville, California. Miller had been battling ongoing bear problems on her property before she passed away. Living in a far-off town, surrounded by wildness, she had unintentionally created conditions drawing bears. She had obvious trash all about her house and routinely fed her cats on the front porch. Being opportunistic scavengers, bears are naturally driven to food sources, particularly in the more busy, warmer months of spring and summer. Many times, this search for simple meals draws them into closer proximity to people. Just last month in Monrovia, another California town, a bear was observed meandering through a neighborhood munching a bag of Nabisco cookies, earning the humorous moniker Oreo. But as the Downeyville tragedy shows, these kinds of interactions are hardly funny. Though smaller and less hostile than their grisly relatives, black bears are nonetheless wild animals and can be quite dangerous when disturbed or felt trapped. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife counsels citizens on how to behave around bears. The main advice is to avoid direct eye contact, scare the bear away with loud noises, and gradually back away to project oneself as bigger. Authorities warn individuals to fight back on the rare occasion a bear contacts them. For Patrice Miller, the warning signals were evident, but regrettably, they were insufficient to stop the fateful confrontation. Sheriff's officers in Downeyville strongly advised citizens to protect their houses and belongings from drawing more bears after her death. They advised residents to lock their cars, seal their windows and doors at night, and clear their yards of any possible food sources, including trash. If taken, these basic steps could help lower the probability of future bear interactions becoming fatal. Acknowledging the great effect Miller's death had on the small, close-knit community, the Sierra County Sheriff's Office sent their sympathies to her family and friends. Their public comment was, "The loss of a community member is always a tragedy, and our thoughts are with those affected by this unfortunate event." With just about 100 people living in Downeyville, Miller's death had a significant impact on the town, particularly in places like the Sierra Nevada, where bear numbers are rising. The incident reminded us of the careful balance that separates human communities from wildlife ecosystems. With an estimated 1,700 such events annually in California, bear-related conflicts have become a rising issue of concern. Of them, more than 200 are home invasions, where bears break into houses in quest of food. Fascinatingly, a tiny percentage of repeat offenders causes almost 55% of the damage done by black bears. After successfully scavenging food, these bears sometimes make trips back to their homes. They discover that human communities are not readily discouraged and offer a convenient supply of food. There have been many bear-related events in the Californian town of Downeyville, where Patrice Miller was sadly slain. 3 days following Miller's death discovery, another bear was seen on camera straying over a resident's yard. This was not a one-off occurrence. 6 months later, in May 2024, a bear broke into 3 local houses, frightening the occupants. One especially horrific event occurred when an elderly man woke from a snooze on his couch, only to see a bear looking at him in his living room. Later, that same bear tried to enter a middle school gym while the kids were still there. Luckily, the bear had moved on to another adjacent house by the time the cops showed up there, where it was ultimately shot. The Downeyville community was shaken by these incidents. which also sparked questions regarding bear behavior and safety. These events highlighted how black bears in the region had grown to be a rising hazard to public safety as they had become more unaware of human presence. The sad tale of Patrice Miller and the rising frequency of bear encounters emphasizes the critical necessity of more awareness and prudence in places likely to be active for bears. Although black bears are not naturally aggressive, their capacity to inflict damage upon provocation or hunger should not be undervalued. Incidents like these may become more frequent as the bear population grows and human communities spread into bear areas. Hence, communities must remain alert and act proactively. This heartbreaking story serves as a sobering reminder of the dangers that can exist right outside our doors. Stay informed, stay safe, and make sure you're taking the right precautions if you live in bear territory. For more wildlife safety tips and stories like this, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share your thoughts in the comments below.